Naasir drew in a long, deep breath and felt his mouth water. She smelled right, smelled like his mate should smell. He wasn't sure she was his mate yet, especially since she was so small and had such big, scared eyes, but he knew he wanted to lick her, taste her, bite her. About to nuzzle at her, he heard Jessamine's voice. "Naasir!" Realizing he'd done something uncivilized in his excitement, he forced himself to step back, but he couldn't stop looking at the delicious-smelling angel. She had skin like honey. He liked honey. He had a feeling he'd like licking her skin just as much. Her eyes were a translucent brown with a bright golden starburst around the pupil. Pretty. Her wings, from what he could see of them, were a rich shade close to the dark chocolate Honor liked to eat. And her hair, it was a thick, silky-looking golden brown. It was in a braid right now, but he could tell it would be curly if let out. He already had plans to undo the braid so he could play with it. Of course, first he'd have to convince her he wasn't planning to eat her.
"Hello,"
he said on his best behavior now.
"I just wanted to smell you."
"Oh." Lines between her eyebrows, the tone of her voice making him want to close his eyes and just listen. "Do you sniff everyone you meet?" Smiling inside at the curiosity she couldn't quite hide, he said,
"No."
He drew in her scent again, careful to make it appear he was simply breathing.
"Only women."
"Why?"
"I'm hunting my mate."
A sudden, dazzling smile, all her fear erased in a single heartbeat. "I suppose that makes sense." Then she turned to Jessamine, as if everything was explained. As the two women spoke, he stood there, confused. Nothing was explained. She smelled right, smelled delicious. He wanted to taste her. Why didn't she consider him a threat any longer? Vow of celibacy. He scowled at the reminder. Just because she'd taken a vow didn't mean he was no threat. Only... He bit back a satisfied smile. The delicious-smelling angel thought she was safe, so she'd probably allow him close to her. Close enough that he could determine if she was or wasn't his mate. In truth, enticing though she was, he couldn't see how she could be his. She looked very breakable and soft, but he wasn't about to give up without determining the truth. Perhaps he was meant to have a breakable mate, though that seemed ridiculous to him. Or perhaps she was hiding her real self. The idea his maybe mate might have a secret side fascinated him. Andromeda had intended to say no to the dinner invitation from Jessamine. It wasn't because she didn't enjoy eating with her mentor and the weapons master. They were two of her most favorite people in the whole world and had accepted her for who she was, seeing the woman she'd become and not the bloodline that marked her. As for Venom, the vampire having become a familiar sight at Jessamine's dinner table since his transfer to the refuge, he had a biting sense of humor and a cool intelligence Andromeda appreciated. It wasn't even because Naasir unsettled her.